Before I proceed into today's topic, I want to recap the topic of my last video. In my previous video titled Vocal Prayer, I spoke about Saint Teresa's understanding about vocal prayer. According to Saint Teresa, mere rattling off of words is not a vocal prayer. For her, reciting prayer without attention to God is not prayer at all. To be effectively able to pray vocal prayer, Saint Teresa suggests 3 remedies: active recollection, seek out companion, address the indwelling Trinity. Now today, moving forward, we are going to reflect on a very important aspect of Teresian spirituality, the aspect of images. She speaks about 2 images, the growth images and images of 7 mansions. Saint Teresa knew that extremely delicate subject like contemplation requires graphic illustrations if one is to help people comprehend and appreciate it. Her favorite growth images were flowing water and inner castle. The saint uses water to represent the giftness of advanced prayer together with its progressive ease of effort. She distinguishes 4 ways of obtaining favor. She compares a soul to a garden and says the garden of the soul can be watered in several manners. First, drawing the water up from the well by use of a bucket, but that entails a great deal of human effort. Second, cranking a water wheel and having the water run through an aqueduct, which involves less exertion and yields more water. Number 3, the third entails far less effort, for in it the water enters the garden by an effluence from a river or stream. The fourth and the final way is best of all. As by a gentle but abundant rainfall, the Lord himself waters the garden and the soul does not work at all. With this imagery, the saint is obviously explaining how prayer grows beyond the more laborious activities of discursive meditation to a less active effort and more simple communing, until finally reaching the effortless contemplation of transforming union. As much as Saint Teresa was attracted to water as a symbol of how God gives growth in prayer, she used more extensively an inner castle as a vehicle of explanation, a vehicle given her by the Lord himself. Teresa thought of the soul as if it were a castle made of a single diamond or of a very clear crystal in which there are many rooms, just as in heaven there are many mansions. In the center of the crystal castle, the soul is the sun. As we grow in prayer, we draw closer to this divine sun and are transformed into him. Living in the soul's center, the sun gives it all its splendor and beauty, and the human temple is capable of enjoying him as the crystal of reflecting sun. She says, you must not imagine these mansions as arranged in a row, one behind another, but fix your attention on the center, the room or a palace occupied by the king. Think of Palmito, which has many outer rings around the savory part within, all of which must be taken away before the center can be eaten. Just so, around this central room are many more, as there also are above it. In speaking of the soul, we must also think of it as spacious, ample, and lofty. And this can be done without the least exaggeration, for the soul's capacity is much greater than we can realize. And this sun, which is in the palace, reaches every part of it. Saint Teresa was asked to write treatise on prayer as she knew it from her own experience. On the eve of the Holy Trinity, when she was wondering what theme to take for her treatise, God gave it to her by showing her a very beautiful glow of a crystal-like castle with 7 centric dwellings. The 7th, which was the center, was the King of Glory in great splendor, who lit up and adorned all the dwellings as far as the after ring. The nearer the center, the greater the light. This light did not shine beyond the outer ring. While 7 mansions provide an apt vehicle for explaining the development of contemplative prayer, we ought not to imagine them as pigeonholes and the development as a discrete jump from one state to another. Living things grow gradually, and communion with God, being the supreme of all living realities, likewise matures imperceptibly, just as a teacher of developmental psychology cannot make the subject clear except by distinguishing one stage from another. So we cannot explain prayer growth without speaking of diverse degrees of progression. Yet the process is so gradual that we must describe it as a continuity. The multiplicities of discursive meditation naturally and normally and without any concentrated effort become less and less multiple and more simple. As we explained in its own place, the transition from discursive meditation to the beginnings of infused contemplation is likewise a gradual process. In the last 4 mansions, there is a decided blending of one mansion to the next. The experience of absorption in the 5th mansion can have some of the traits of the 6th ecstatic prayer, and the 6th and the 7th can be fused because they have somewhat similar traits. So there is no closed door to separate one from another, even though the latter does have characteristics not found in the former. In the next video, we will discuss about the first 3 mansions of the 7 mansions of Saint Teresa of Avila. Thank you for watching this video.